Pacing games is a huge issue, and a pitch clock is on a lot of minds. Friday night at the Cubs fan convention, John Lester said, quote, "If you use a pitch clock, you take the beauty out of the game. There's such a cat and mouse game as far as messing up hitters' timing, messing up pitchers' timing. Different things that fans and people that have never played the game don't understand. I feel like if you do add a clock, it just takes away all the beauty from the game. I think you're going down a path you don't want to go down." Now, it was used this offseason in the Arizona Fall League with a modicum of success. You see some images of that. 16 seconds there. You had to get on the mound and pitch. So they did shave a little bit of time off games. There is a ball penalty if a pitcher, for example, goes too long or they take too long between innings. It starts with a 1-0 count, or it would happen. It would change certainly the dynamic of the game. It's going to be used in AA and AAA this year. Do you ever see it making inroads into the majors?
I don't know if we'll ever get to a point where there's a clock in a major league game. I mean, we might. It's going to take a while for the players' union to be okay with it. But I think ultimately what they're hoping to do is just you kind of get these guys used to moving a little quicker. You know, if you get guys used to it at the minor league level, you know, if you get to where they're not going through this long, elaborate routine before every pitch or before every at-bat, then eventually that begins to work its way to the big league level and games speed up. I mean, they're doing what they can to just try to get them used to the game moving faster.
Yeah, I guess a great point, and we shouldn't overlook hitters required to keep 1 foot in batter's box at all times. So they can't be stepping out and doing this and that with their batting gloves all the time, and taking their helmet and adjusting and calling for time like a certain Yankee captain used to do. But I think that's right. I mean, you get these guys in the minor leagues to develop a different kind of routine, and you keep that down there for a period of years, and by the time they get to the big leagues, they're not going to want to disrupt their routine. They're not going to feel like, oh, I'm up here now, I can start dawdling, I can start walking around the mat and pulling on my cap and all this stuff. But I will say, from a big leaguer's perspective, now more than ever, they have more information to process for each at-bat. They have more detailed scouting reports than any group of players has ever had before. So there is a lot more to think about, when you get to the big league level. There's brighter lights and more fans, but also when they step in that box, things are going to change based on the count. A lot of times they just want to gather themselves. I talked to Todd Hollandsworth, the former big league player, now a radio voice on XM, and he was talking about how, look, some of my best times when I played were when I took the time to gather myself, to walk a little bit. And nowadays, hitters have a lot more to think about because of those detailed scouting reports.
By the way, it would have to also be approved by the Players Association somewhere down the line. It's hard to tell a bunch of millionaires to say, hey, sign up for this. This is going to be great for you. If they don't want to change the game, they won't. Having said that, they can impose it on the minor leagues. And how about going deeper, Chad, to if we're saying that we're losing young kids because the game is too slow and takes too long, how about teaching them to play the game faster?
Well, yeah, and I imagine if Major League Baseball could just wave a wand and make every Little
Right.
League coach force their kids to be quicker and all this, and to not pay attention to, don't try to do exactly what these big league players who are taking forever before they get in the box. Of course, every Little League kid wants to do that. I mean, they're there to try to emulate their heroes, and they want to do what they do. So if a big league player takes a while, then these kids are going to take a while. If it speeds up, I think eventually it will work its way down, and then it just sort of starts feeding on itself. But, yeah, right now I'm sure that Major League Baseball would like to get that set somewhere, but it's a little bit tougher to do that.
Right, and this isn't the only thing they can do. I mean, the Atlantic League last year in the second half was able to shave about 7 minutes off the time of game from what they had in the first half. They didn't need a pitch clock. They couldn't afford it, frankly. They're probably going to do it this year. But they did a lot of other things. They enforced the rules that exist in the rule book. Umpires were willing to call balls when pitchers were dawdling around. And also they did things like, 4 balls for an intentional walk. Okay, you just take your first base. They had only 3 defensive timeouts they were allowed in the first 9 innings of a game. And they kept those defensive timeouts to 45 seconds. So those are some things that baseball could learn from, as they try to quicken the pace a little bit.